Hey, hi, hello, and welcome back to the Messy but Caffeinated podcast, the podcast where the coffee is iced, the opinions are hot, and I am doing my best. Today, I am feeling vulnerable and very much caffeinated, so I'm ready to overshare. Let's get into it. That coffee is hitting my soul right now. Before I start, I do have my iced coffee in hand, ready to go. I am drinking the Starbucks mocha out the bottle over ice with some sweet cream cold foam and chocolate syrup. Very basic, I know, and very easy to make. So, hence the reason I did it. Also, this is my second coffee today. So, love that for everyone involved. What is up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. I just want to say before I get into anything, thank you so much for all your support and appreciation towards my first episode dropping. It was a total success. I've received a lot of good feedback, and I am so happy to know that you guys are just as excited as I am to go on this journey. If you notice that my voice sounds a little crunchy or sounds like I have a mouthful, I am getting over strep throat. So I had it right before Thanksgiving, and then I took 10 days worth of antibiotics, and it kicked it out for like 3 days, and then all of a sudden my throat started hurting again. So I just started new antibiotics on Friday, and so far so good, but I still feel like there's just phlegm just sitting in the pit of my throat that when I talk, I feel like it's just a bubble, and that is the worst feeling. Listen, as an adult, having strep fucking sucks, bro. It sucks so bad. The first time I had it a few weeks ago, I literally thought I was going to die. There was a point where I got up in the middle of the night because I couldn't lay down because my throat was hurting so bad. So I was sitting up straight trying to sleep, and Billy had actually gotten up for work like an hour after I went to the recliner in our room, and he come over with a flashlight and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I was like, "Dude, I can't lay back. Like, if I lay back, I feel like I'm gasping for air. My throat is hurting so bad that, like, I can't swallow, I can't eat, I can't breathe." It was terrible. So, yeah, strep sucks. I 10 out of 10 do not recommend. So, but we are on the mend, I think. I am finally starting to feel better, which is great news. So, yeah. So, for today's episode, I decided that I was just going to dive right in with my vulnerability and transparency, and we are going to talk about my infertility struggles. If I can get this phlegm out of my throat. So, this may be a long one, so buckle up. It may be all over the place because it's kind of hard to remember everything because it was such a long phase of my life. And honestly, I have a lot of trauma from the fertility issues that I had and went through. There were a lot of things that happened during my time of trying to get pregnant that really fucked me up, and that's the best way I can put it. I did end up on an antidepressant because of it. I'm going to assume that was the reason, just because, we'll get into it. But yeah, so this is a really vulnerable subject for me. It used to be really touchy. Before I had Sage, of course, I used to get really emotional about it. I really couldn't talk about it with literally anybody because I would just cry, and it was always a why me, why me. And if you're in that position, you understand what I'm saying when I say that, because it really was a constant, like, why me? Why am I the one that wants a baby so bad and can't get one? And why am I the one that plans the baby showers but won't ever have her own baby shower? I mean, things like that. So if you're going through what I went through, you know the vibes. You know what I'm saying. So, yeah. So I guess I'll just start from the beginning. As you guys know, me and Billy got together at a very young age. I was 13 at the time, and he was 15. So he was a freshman, and I was an eighth grader. We didn't go to the same school. Um, you know, we really only saw each other like every weekend, every other weekend. When we first got together, it was like every other weekend or every few weekends because, we were younger and our parents were kind of unsure of our relationship. Like, I guess they really just didn't bank on it being as serious as it was. And really, we didn't either. In the beginning, we just obviously were like, I love you, like 12 hours after we started dating. And, we never knew it would grow to what it is now. And I'm so thankful that it did. But, as a kid, when you start dating, you don't think it's going to last. You don't think it's going to go anywhere. Like, at least an adult looking in, you're like, oh, well, they're kids. But, like, as that kid, I'm like, oh, like, this is the love of my life. Like, But how many times did you guys say that about your middle school boyfriend slash girlfriend? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so we got together at a very young age, and we were together almost a year before anything happened. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, so obviously we were young, we were in love, and we liked to do that. Was I too young to be doing that? Absolutely. If my daughter came to me at the age of 14 and said, hey, I'm having sex, I probably would stroke out. I know for sure Billy would. I I would. And it'd be almost one of those things that's like, oh, you're following too closely in my footsteps. Please do not do that. So anyway, so I had my first pregnancy scare when I was 14. And mom and dad, if you're watching this and you don't know, I'm sorry, because you're finding out now. Love you. I wasn't knocked up at 14, obviously, but I remember that exact night that I thought it happened. I'm not going to go into detail about what happened, but I remember literally just bawling and thinking like, holy shit, I cannot have a kid right now. Like, I'm too young. I am a kid myself. I cannot have a kid right now. And the next day, everything was fine. I went to school. All was well. Come 1 o'clock in the afternoon-ish, my phone starts absolutely blowing up. I mean, blowing up from like people I don't even know on like Facebook Messenger, text messages, just like reaching out to me. I remember I was a freshman at the time. I remember a senior reached out to me and was like, hey, I heard what's going on. Like, if there's anything that I can do to help you, like, I know it's a scary situation. I've been there, this, that, and the other. Like, if I can help you get through it, we'll get through it. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, well, you're pregnant, aren't you? I was like, no, I don't think so. Come to find out, love my husband, but his mouth is just as big as he is. And apparently he said something to a friend of his at school, and this said friend told everybody. So, you know how fast rumors spread, especially in a small town. And I mean, it was bad. So I was worried that my parents were going to end up finding out about it. So I ended up nipping that in the butt. I actually can't tell you how I got that pregnancy test that I peed on. I don't remember. But I got one, peed on it, it was negative, and all was well. And that was dead. Dead drama. That should have never even been started in the first place. And then I had my second pregnancy scare when I was 17 and Billy was 19. He was a senior in high school and I was a junior, and I didn't get my period for like 2 weeks, and I kind of freaked out because obviously we were doing the stuff. So I kind of freaked out and I went to my mom, and of course my mom was like, you can't be pregnant right now. Like, you're a child, like, you guys got to be smarter than that, mom talk, the whole thing. And so I think Billy had ended up telling his mom too, and they were pretty much, telling him like, hey, if she is pregnant, like, you're going to have to quit basketball, you're going to have to get a job, you're going to have to take care of this baby, like, this is no joke. So my mom bought me a pregnancy test. I took one. It was negative, and thank God, because 17-year-old me also would not have been able to take care of a child. I mean, I would have figured it out if it would have happened, but I was way too young to be having babies. So I'm glad that turned out the way that it did. So moving on from there, I didn't have any more like pregnancy scares after that. However, I just really noticed like my cycles were off. I would go months without having a period. And mind you, I did take birth control when my mom, sorry, that was my dog shaking her head. When my mom found out about me having sex, she was like, let's go to the doctor. Let's get you on birth control, whatever. Which, in the beginning, the birth control really did help me because my period cramps were ungodly. I would literally have to miss school because I would feel like I was going to die. So I went to the doctor, got put on birth control pills, and, you know, they were okay. They made me a little, like, hormonal, but other than that, they really didn't bother me. They did help my periods a shit ton, and I never really had any, like, bad effects from birth control at first because I was so athletic in high school that, like, the weight gain wasn't an issue for me, and that was the issue for a lot of the girls that I knew that took birth control was they would just gain weight and couldn't get it off. So I took birth control until I was 19. And so this is kind of where that ties into. So when I got off birth control, my cycles just stopped. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what had happened. They just were gone. And I would freak out, of course, and think I was pregnant. And then I would take a pregnancy test. It would be negative, and I'd be like, what the fuck? So I also, when I graduated high school, I gained quite a bit of weight because I went from like being athletic and doing things and like constantly in sports or practice to really not doing much of anything. Like, you know, I was working, I was going to school, hanging out with Billy, things like that. But I gained a lot of weight out of high school, as most of us do. And yeah, so then I let it go by for like 6 months. Still didn't have a period, and I was like, okay, I need to go to the doctor. So I went to my doctor. He was awesome. He was literally the best doctor ever. And when I got pregnant, and actually was pregnant, I wanted to go to him so bad so he could see like the progress that we had made. But at that time, he had moved, so I didn't even get to have him. Not shitting on my new OB because she's the bomb, but he was with me through like my entire journey. He was great. So anyway, I show up to him and I'm like, hey, here's what's going on. Like, I'm not getting a period. My cycles are not normal. I can't tell you the last time I had a period. I feel like something's wrong. Like, I'm not cleansing out the way I'm supposed to, and I'm scared. Like, can you help me? And he was like, yeah. So he pretty much, like, broke down all my symptoms, and, like, we talked about everything, and I ended up getting diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is PCOS. If you're not familiar with that, it is basically where there are multiple cysts on either one or both of your ovaries, and they can cause a fuck ton of issues, either pre-pregnancy, during pregnancy, or after pregnancy. And in my case, it was pre-pregnancy. So basically, these cysts grow on your ovaries. They can be big or small. They can burst. Been there, done that. They can cause you to gain weight. They can make it where your weight is like almost impossible to pull off. You have really bad acne. You can get like facial hair, almost like a man sometimes. Like you can either get like little tidbits, like sometimes I'll get like chin hair, like 2 or 3, and they always pop up in the same spot. But like some people will get like a full blown like beard. It makes your hormones all out of whack. It fucks you up. It does a lot. There is, as far as I'm aware, there is no cure for PCOS. However, we will get into that because I fear that something that I did to get pregnant with my daughter actually is going to change the future of PCOS. But like I said, we'll get into that. So anyway, so I was diagnosed with that at 19. And he pretty much was like, hey, you know, it's going to be hard for you to get pregnant whenever you do start trying to get pregnant. PCOS will make that hard for you. Like, why don't you just work on eating healthy, trying to lose a little bit of weight, and we'll go from there. So I was like, okay. So I have always struggled with losing weight and not even necessarily eating healthy. My issue is that I bored eat and I don't know portion control, really. Like, I will eat and I will feel like I'm not full, so I will go get another plate full and it will be entirely too much of whatever I'm eating. And I've always struggled with that as long as I can remember, but it was never an issue because I always was like, dancing for, I was on a dance team, so I was dancing, so that was helping. Like, that was my workout. I was playing softball. That was my workout. Like, I never, like, went to the gym or anything like that. Like, I multiple times have tried to go to the gym. I just can't get into it. I don't know what it is. I just can't. So, anyway, that is something that I've heard literally the entire time I've been trying to get pregnant is, oh, just lose a little bit of weight and eat better. Oh, just lose a little bit of weight and eat better. And if you're going through the struggles that I have gone through, or if you have been through that yourself, in the past, I'm sure you've probably heard the same thing, and it's fucking annoying. Like, I come to you for help, and you're telling me to go lose weight. Like, in my opinion, that really just hurt my feelings more than anything. So, we started having unprotected sex when I was 19. And looking back on it now, I am so thankful that I did not get pregnant. However, if I would have, we would have figured it out. But 19-year-old me, not a chance. I wouldn't have felt comfortable with having a child until at least I graduated nursing school the first time, because I knew I had decent money coming in. We had our own place. Like, we were set at that time, whereas at 19, we were both still in school. We were not married. We were back and forth between jobs. We were still learning each other because, hell, we grew up together. So, like, at 19, I moved in with him, and we lived with his parents, and then we tried to move out. It was a disaster, so we moved back in with his dad, and there was a whole ordeal where we ended up moving in with his mom, and then we kind of bounced back and forth for a little while, and then that was when we moved back in with his dad, and his dad moved out and was like, here, you guys keep this place, and that's how we ended up there. So we were still trying to figure each other out, and it would have caused so much stress on us trying to have a baby that young, because we were still, like I said, figuring each other out. So I knew that something was wrong when it had been like well over a year of us not being protected and nothing happened. And, that was around the time that I went to the doctor for my cycle issues. So he was like, try on your own for like 6 months. He's like, if nothing happens, come back. It's like, okay. So we tried for 6 months. Nothing happened. So I go back, and he's like, well, we'll start you on some light meds. So I'm like, okay. So they put me on some fertility medicine. I have taken, I took Clomid first, and he was a little hesitant to put me on that just because that one and the other one out of the two, that one heightens your chance for twins. And he had twins out of that, and he was a twin out of that, apparently. So he was like, I know it works. So I was like, okay. So I would take it during my ovulation period, which I didn't know when that was, so we just assumed I would take it from day 3 to day 8 after my period. And I would also take progesterone to give myself a period, so that way, what my body wasn't doing on its own, these pills were doing for me. So I'd take the progesterone, I'd take the Femera, we would do what we would do on specific days, and then hope that I would just get knocked up. Never happened. I took Clomid probably 7 or 8 rounds, and then they switched me to Femera, so that's another fertility medicine. So I took that for about 6 rounds. It did nothing, along with the progesterone. And then there was one time where I was taking an ovulation pill. I was taking the progesterone to give me a period. And then I was also taking metformin because PCOS is linked to type 2 diabetes, if you didn't know. So that's why if you have PCOS, it is likely that you will end up with type 2 diabetes at some point down the road if you don't control it when you find out about it. So they were very on top of my A1C. They were like, take metformin, that'll help you too. I had a really bad reaction with metformin. Not reaction like allergic reaction, but it made me very sick to my stomach every single time that I took it. And it tore my stomach up. I would be in the bathroom for the first 3 hours of the day. Every day I only took it for a week. I couldn't handle it. My body just couldn't. So we did that, and all that didn't work. And there were multiple times that I would be like, oh my God, I'm really pregnant this time. I just feel it. I just feel it. Never, ever. So I don't know what thought. I don't know if it was delusion. I don't know if it was hope. I have no idea. But I was never pregnant, ever. So it got to a point where he was pretty much like, hey, I want to run some tests on you. I want to, just draw your blood and things like that. So drew my blood, everything was normal. And he was like, I'm really not sure what other direction we can go from here. So I want you to go to fertility, like a fertility doctor. And I was like, okay. So I started going to Nashville Fertility, which is like the only fertility doctor around here that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's more, but that's the one that I wanted to go to because I heard a lot of good things about it. I had friends that went there and did things like successfully. So that is where we went. So we got there and we had to do different types of tests. So they tested Billy's sperm, and Billy's sperm was off the charts. He was like 100,000 times the normal limit. And let me tell you, as a man, he's been bragging about that forever. Anytime we've ever brought it up in front of anyone, he's always like, oh yeah, with my sperm, I got a billion, blah, blah, blah. He's like busting out a billion fucking kids at a time. And you got me over here who's got all kinds of issues. So when we tested his sperm, we realized that he was not the problem. It was me. I'm the problem, it's me. So, yeah. And so we did lots of testing on me. I can't say the word, but it's an HSG, I think. So basically, they lay me back on an operating table and they take a catheter tube and put it into my cervix, and they will shoot saline into your fallopian tubes to see if they're blocked or if there's a blockage. So I had that done, and that was the most painful thing I've ever been through. My best friend went with me because I was terrified, and I didn't want to go by myself, and Billy couldn't get off work. So she went with me, and they wouldn't let her come back with me. They made me go by myself, and I bawled my eyes out from when I left her in the waiting room until when I went back to her in the waiting room. And it was so painful. I won't say it was more painful than childbirth because that was terrifying, but it was rough. I bawled my eyes out. I bit the nurse that was helping me, and I did not mean to. I thought it was my wrist, and I pulled it over to my face and literally bit her. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And she just kind of laughed. She's like, it's okay. I've had worse done. I'm like, okay. And I felt terrible, but it ended up being, they said that there were no blockages. However, when they did that, I did feel a pop on one of the sides. So I thought that maybe it was blocked, and they unblocked it when they shot the saline through. And I was like, okay, well, that was my issue. Maybe I was just, had a blocked tube or something. So we get into it. We start doing the meds again. We do each of those meds 3 times just to see what's going on. And it doesn't work either time. So then at this point, they're like, hey, why don't we do IUI, which is intrauterine insemination. So basically what they do is they have Billy come in. He will beat off in a cup, and then they will take it and they will sterilize it, make sure it's swimming and good. And then they will insert his sperm through a catheter tube into my cervix. So basically they are giving the swimmers a higher chance to get up into where they have to get to. And they did, it was a whole thing. It was very inconvenient for the job I had at the time because I had to be available to go to the doctor 4 or 5 times in a month. So you'd have to go, you'd take your medicine, I'd get my period, and then I would start taking my ovulation medicine. And then I would have to go into the doctor on the highest day of ovulation, get an ultrasound done of my ovaries, and then they would be like, oh, your follicle is at a 28. You're ovulating. We're going to do the thing tomorrow. So then Billy would have to randomly be ready to just show up and beat off in a cup. And then I'd have to do what they call a trigger shot, which is basically to boost your ovulation. So I'd have to give myself a shot right before I went in. And then the next day I would show up, and they would just take this catheter tubing, they would put it in my cervix, they would shoot a sperm through, and then I'd lay on this table for 20 minutes with my hips higher than my head and hope that there's magic. So the first time that I did that was terrifying. The first time I did that was in 2020, I believe. And it wasn't that it hurt, it was just that it was super uncomfortable for me. Come on, Lou. Come on. If you're watching, my dog just joined the chat. Hi, baby. So, yeah, it was super uncomfortable for me. And I was just a nervous wreck because I didn't know if it was going to work or if it wasn't. And I don't know if many of you know how fertility stuff works, but the more aggressive your treatment, the more expensive it is, and insurance doesn't cover shit. So for the medications, like just doing the pills at first really wasn't pricey, obviously, because it was just pills. But IUI was $1,500 every single time that I did it, and I did IUI 4 times, I think. And so yeah, that adds up. So we did it the first time, it was unsuccessful. We did it the second time, it was unsuccessful. So then they decided that they wanted to take a look at my uterus because they had already done the fallopian tube. So they were like, well, let's take a look in your uterus, see if anything's going on, and we'll go from there. So they did the same thing to my uterus that they did in my fallopian tubes, where they spit saline up there through a catheter tube. But this time when I went in, I was sedated. So I told them that I had to have Xanax or something before I went in there because I had such a bad time the first time that I knew I wouldn't make it if I did that again. So they had me take a Xanax an hour before we got there, and I was so fucking out of it. It was great. I wish I would have had that the first time that I went because it wouldn't have been nearly as bad. But when they did this, they ended up finding a fibroid in my uterus, and basically that is like a growth, but it could be cancerous, it could not be. I know that it's not, and that's what they said. They're like 100% sure it's not because it's been there since like 2022, and it hasn't grown. It hasn't, as far as I know. I don't even know actually if it's there anymore, but I know that it was there when I was pregnant, but it didn't cause me any issues or anything. But they did say, at some point if it got bigger or if it started to cause issues, they would have to take it out. Thankfully, it hasn't caused me any issues. So when they told me that, I kind of freaked out because I was like, oh my God, is that cancer? And they were like, it could be, but it's not. Like, there's different types. And I'm like, okay, perfect. So after that, did another round of IUI, was unsuccessful. And then we did our last round of IUI in December of 2022. And it didn't work. And at that point, I was over it. Like, I didn't want to do it anymore. I was tired of disappointment and the constant like depression from it. I just wanted to take a break, and I was like, I'm done for now. Like, if I'm not gonna have a baby, I'm not gonna have a baby. I'm tired of it. And I will say that it was a lot. Like, we were both, me and Billy were stressed. Like, we were having sex on a schedule, and that sucks. It was not fun anymore. We both were upset every single time I got a negative pregnancy test. He really doesn't show his emotions, so you really wouldn't be able to tell that he was upset, but like, I would just cry and cry and cry all the time because I'm like, when is it going to be my turn? Like, when is this going to happen for me? And I remember Billy kind of being like, hey, like, if you don't get pregnant by the time I'm 30, like, I don't know that I even want to try anymore because I'm getting older, I'm not getting any younger, and like, I don't want to be an old parent. And I get that completely because I didn't want to be an old parent either. We're not old parents, but like, we didn't want to be having babies in our 40s. Like, our plan was to have babies early, so like, we could still be younger when they were older and be able to do things and whatever. So yeah, so to kind of backtrack just a little bit, in 2019, no, I'm sorry, in 2020, we had gone to Panama City Beach, Florida, and I wanted to go eat Waffle House. So that's like our thing, and we love Waffle House anyway, but like Florida, we make a pit stop usually on the way there, on the way back in Florida in the middle of the night, we'll go to Waffle House. So this particular day, we went at like, I don't know, 10 o'clock in the morning maybe, and I walked in, was sitting there getting ready to eat, and the fucking smell coming from the grills just had me tore up. I literally felt like I was going to puke and barf everywhere, and I have never felt like that ever, like instant sick like that. So I was like, I don't feel right. Can you order our food? I'm gonna go sit in the car. And he was like, yeah, it's fine. So he orders our food. He comes to the car and he's like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, just the smell really was like bothering me. And I was like, run me to Walmart real quick. He's like, okay. So we go to Walmart. I buy some pregnancy tests because I'm like, what? I really don't know what else it could be, but hey, fuck it. We'll just do it and see what happens. And so we go home, well, to the condo, and I go to pee on the stick, and I look and I see a faint line. And I was like, holy shit, there's not a chance in hell that I'm pregnant right now. And I kind of freaked out a little bit, and I go fucking driving all over God's creation to find an urgent care in Panama City Beach to verify if I'm pregnant or not. And I left Billy at the condo, and I just am driving around Panama City trying to find somewhere to go. So I went to this one place, and they told me that they couldn't see me for some reason. I don't remember why, but then I ended up going to another place, and I showed her the pregnancy test, and she was like, well, that's positive to me. Why don't we do a blood test? And I'm like, okay. So I do a blood test, and then she's like, we'll have the result in 24 hours, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. And, yeah. So then they take my blood, and they call me back the next day. We're actually going home the next day. They call me back, and they're like, hey, your blood test was negative. Like, must have been something you ate, which, what the fuck? There's nothing that you can eat that will make you have HCG in your system. But anyway. So then at that point, I'm crushed, obviously, because for the first time in my life, I was like, holy shit, there's a faint line. Like, I'm pregnant. There's a baby in there. Wow. And it was a false positive. So I was like, okay, perfect. So fast forward to, 2022 in December. That's when we decided, like, hey, we're not going to try anymore. Take a break because we were both stressed out. We were just upset, mad, frustrated, like everything you think of. So, mind you, in this whole time of us, like, really trying to have a baby, I did try different things. I did exercise. I did Zumba. I did running on the treadmill. I tried the machines at the gym. And the gym is just not me, bro. Like, I just don't like to work out. I don't like to go to the gym because I always feel like people are watching me. And I know, like, that's so stupid to say, but I just don't like people watching me walk or run or, like, lift or whatever. I don't like that. And Zumba was always my thing because I was a dancer, so I like Zumba. So if I'm gonna, like, work out, I would like to work out in a way that I like. So, dancing. So I would go to Zumba a few times a week, and there for a while I was going by myself, and I don't really like to do anything by myself. I like a friend to go, or, to come motivate me. If there's two of us, then, like, we can hold each other accountable, but if it's just me, then I'm real quick to back out and be lazy. So many times I did that on and off. And I tried the whole diet thing. I tried not drinking Cokes, which I did stop drinking Cokes in 2016, and I haven't had a Coke since, so it's been almost 10 years since I had a Coke. I did try to eat healthier. I tried to cut certain food out. I went a whole shit ton of time without eating bread. Nothing happened for me. I was not losing weight. Nothing was working. And with PCOS, it is incredibly, incredibly difficult to lose weight. And I don't know the science behind that. I just know that it's incredibly difficult. So, in March of 2023, I decided that I was going to do weight loss injections. And I put it off for a long time just because my insurance would not cover it. And I couldn't find anywhere that would, like, let me buy them for less than, like, $1,000. It was crazy. And I had started seeing a new doctor in March, which I only saw her for a few weeks because I really didn't like her. But I saw a new doctor in March of that year. And she tried to get me on Mounjaro, and my insurance wouldn't cover it. They wanted me to pay $2,000 out of pocket. They tried to put me on Wegovy, wouldn't approve me for that. Tried to get me to pay like $1,500 out of pocket. And then they tried Ozempic, and nothing. The insurance was like, fuck you, you're not getting that either. So I was like, okay, so obviously this is not going to work. So I was talking to a girl that I worked with, and she was like, I'm fixing to start taking those too. Like, this is where I'm going to get mine from. It's a body clinic. And I was like, okay, cool. So I reached out, asked some questions, and they were expensive, but they were cheaper than what I was going to pay. So they ended up being like $500 a month for 4 shots. You go once a month, weigh in, give them to yourself at home, things like that. And I was like, you know what? I've got a little bit of money saved up. Like, I'll go ahead and do that. Because I was at the time saving up money for potentially doing IVF, which is in vitro fertilization, which is expensive as fuck. At the time that I was going to do it, it was $20,000. And that's a lot of fucking money. So they pretty much told me, they were like, hey, it's either IVF or nothing, because at this point, like, we've exhausted all our options. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's why I was like, oh, I'm mentally not prepared for that. I'm taking a break. So I had heard mixed reviews about the weight loss shots. I had heard that, like, they were good and they worked really well, but, like, negative stuff I heard more of, like, they could cause gallbladder issues. They could cause you to have really bad stomach issues. When you get off of them, you'll gain all the weight back immediately. Like, I heard horror stories from different people, but everybody's body is different. So I was like, oh, fuck it, I'm going to try it. So I took those from March of 2023 until September of 2023. And in that time period, I lost 60 pounds. When I started, I was 225, and I ended at 170, I think. And if I didn't math that right, my bad. But I lost a significant amount of weight, and I could tell the difference. So during this time that I was on these shots, my periods were not regulated still, mind you. So I went like 3 months in the time of taking those shots without a period. So I think when I started on them, my period just kind of went away, and it didn't come. So in June of 2023, I just randomly decided that I was going to take a pregnancy test, because it had been a while. I really hadn't thought about it, and I was like, well, let me just pee on a stick and we'll see how it goes. So I peed on a stick, and there was a faint line, and I, mind you, also peed on a clear blue test, which I never used because I felt like every time I did clear blue, well, actually, I'll tell you why I never used clear blue, because clear blue was always correct. And you can't really see faint lines on clear blue if they're, like, not actually there, if that makes sense. Because when you're trying to get pregnant and you're reading a pregnancy test, you undoubtedly are trying to convince yourself that there are 2 lines. Whether that be that you think there's a faint line there, you're using the negative filter to see if there's, like, some kind of back line in that negative filter. You are flipping that bitch up and down in the light. You are looking with a flashlight. Like, I mean, like, crazy stuff. Been there, done all that. And so clear blue was always the one that was very straight up like, no, you are not pregnant. You are not the baby's father. You are not pregnant. So I was like, okay. So this specific morning, I took a test on a clear blue test, and there was a faint line, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. That's never happened to me before, so what the fuck? So on the way to work, I called one of my best friends, and I was like, hey, I need you to look at this and tell me what you see. So I sent her a picture of this pregnancy test, and she was like, that looks positive to me. And I was like, okay, well, what do I do? And she's like, why don't you go get a digital? So I was like, okay. So at my old job, we had a bathroom that we all have peed in and taken pregnancy tests in. And that's where she found out she was pregnant with her second child, and that's where I found out I was pregnant for the first time. That's also the same bathroom that I miscarried in. So that bathroom has some memories. However, we went to the drugstore. I got a pregnancy test, and then I peed on it, and we waited, and I flipped it over, and it said pregnant. And I bawled my eyes out. She hugged me while I just cried. It was a very bonding moment for us two, but I didn't realize it wasn't going to last. But in that moment, I was probably the most excited I have ever been, and the most, like, what the hell, because it was so out of the blue. So I immediately went home and laid it on the counter for Billy and was like, hey, I'm pregnant. And he's like, no, you're not. I was like, yeah, I am. Look at that test. It's a digital. It says pregnant. He's like, I want you to take another one. It's like, okay. So I took another one, and it was the lines, and I was like, this means I'm pregnant. He tried to argue with me that it was not true and that I wasn't, and I don't blame him, because we had been let down so many times that why would he believe me, So that lasted, let's see. I went to the doctor the day that I peed on the stick and got my HCG drawn, and it was 13. And if you don't know how your HCG levels work, if you are pregnant and it is a healthy pregnancy, it should double the second time that you get it drawn and then triple the third time, I think is how it goes. And so when I went back the second time, it was lower than 13. I want to say it was like 6 or something. So it was not doubling. It was not good. So I was getting a little nervous, but like I wasn't really having any issues. I had this pregnancy specifically, I peed on probably 50 pregnancy tests, and I still have every single one of them in a Ziploc bag upstairs. So I was very like nervous, but I was so excited at the same time. So I told everybody that we knew, just about like everybody in our family. I made boxes for everybody, like announcement boxes, and told everybody within like a 3-day time span. I was very excited, and Billy was too, but he was also very skeptical. So we just kind of, we're just trying to be happy. And this entire time, I was spotting, and that was normal. It's normal to spot sometimes during pregnancy, so I was like, okay, no big deal. Well, on July the 4th, I was working, and I was cramping, and I just didn't feel right. And I had gone to pee, and it was like a shit show. Like, there was so much happening, and I just heard like a plop, and I had knew what happened. So I called my best friend, because she was working with me at the time, and I was like, hey, I'm pretty sure that I just miscarried. And I got up and I let her look, and she like flushed it, was like, let's go, let me get you out of here, let me call Gail, she's coming to get you, you gotta go to the ER, like, you gotta go home. And I was like, okay. And of course, I'm bawling my eyes out because I knew what just happened. And I was like really just hoping and praying that it was not my child that just dropped into the toilet. But unfortunately, it was. And so I got to the ER. It ended up being Gail and Billy's second oldest sister. And we were just in the ER. They drew my blood, and they were like, hey, your HCG is like 2. Like, you're miscarrying. I'm sorry. Like, I know that's not what you want to hear. Like, blah, blah, blah. And of course, I was fucking devastated. I bawled my eyes out the whole ride there, the whole ride back to work to get my car, the whole ride home. I was very thankful for my friends at that time, because that night I came home and they all showed up with, just ice cream and Tylenol and Midol and candy and just anything they could to make me feel better. I was a fucking wreck, and I really needed that in that time. Billy never really talks about that or talked about his emotions with that. I don't really know how he felt. I know he was upset, but he was more upset that I was upset because, I'd gotten my hopes up, and he really didn't, because he was just like, why would I? And that miscarriage fucked me up. I would be lying to you if I told you mentally it didn't do anything to me. It took a toll on me. We had been trying for so long, and it finally happened, and I lost the baby, and I just completely shut down. Like, I was so depressed after that for a while, and it was really hard for me to, like, be happy for other people that I knew that were having kids, because, like, on the outside, I would be happy, and I love all the babies, so I never had a problem with anybody having babies around me. But it's just different when you're trying to have babies, and, like, you're the aunt who can't have the kids, or, like, you're the aunt who's trying to be supportive, but, like, you want that too, and sometimes it's really overwhelming, and it's really hard. Like, baby showers were really hard for me. Birthday parties were really hard for me. Gender reveals were hard. Going to the hospital to see new babies was kind of hard. I mean, I always just kind of pictured myself in everybody else's shoes and was like, oh, I can't wait for my turn. Like, when I'm in the hospital holding my baby, or when I'm at my baby shower holding my pregnant belly and getting the belly measurements and, things like that. So, after I got off the weight loss shots, I was like 170 when I stopped. and then I ended up getting up to like 180 or something. Nothing crazy, but I just realized that I was gaining weight back fairly quickly and I didn't like it. So I decided I was going to go and get back on these injections. So I went to the doctor on November the 1st, I think, to do these injections. And little did I know that I conceived on October the 31st. But at this time, I had no idea. So I went and got back on those injections, and I took them for 2 weeks. And the first time that I took them, I noticed a difference immediately. My cravings were immediately gone. I was very, like, just did not want to eat. When I did eat, I wouldn't be able to eat a lot. It was a whole thing. When I got on the second time, I was still craving sweets. I was still craving food. I still wanted to eat all the time. And I was like, these are not working. What is wrong? Well, lo and behold, my period was due on November the 17th. And I had had no symptoms leading up to it. No cramping, no like pain anywhere. And that's always like a sign for me, was like cramping and, back pain. Well, I had noticed that I was having some soreness in my boobs a few days prior, actually like a week prior. And I really was like, that's kind of weird, but hey, whatever. I'm sure it's just my period coming. So like I said, on the 17th, that morning, I decided that I was going to pee on some sticks, just for shits and gigs. I peed on 1 digital and 2 lined tests. All 3 were clear blue, and every single one of them were positive. So I, of course, was like, holy shit balls, here we go. But I didn't want to be excited because I was nervous. And I immediately went in and told Billy, I was like, hey, I just peed on some sticks and they're saying I'm pregnant. And he was like, don't tell anybody. He's like, I saw how bad you got your hopes up last time. Like, don't tell anybody. I was like, okay. So I went to my doctor that day, my lady doctor, and I was like, hey, I tested positive on a pregnancy test. Can we do my HCG? They were like, yeah. So they drew my blood. It was like 66 or something. And I was like, okay, well, so far so good. Like, it's higher than it was. And so I had to go back that Monday. I went back that Monday, got my blood drawn again, and it was like 300 something. So I was like, okay, we're doing well. And my progesterone was like perfect, sitting in the right spot. And so, I told Billy, I was like, hey, my blood work's looking really good. Like, everything's moving the way it's supposed to. Like, I think I might really be pregnant this time. And he was like, well, I'll believe it when I see it. So I was like, okay. So we made my appointment for the doctor. My ultrasound was December the 11th, I think. And so we both went in. We went back to the ultrasound room. They pulled it up, and there she was. She was in there, and I bawled like a baby, bro. And Billy just kept staring at the ultrasound in like disbelief. Like, he could not believe that there was actually a baby in there. And I think it really hit us in that moment, like, holy shit, like, I am pregnant, oh my God. And we never thought we would have that aha moment of that. So then from there, he was excited and I was excited and we were ready to tell everybody, but we ended up setting up like reveal pictures or announcement pictures rather. We took those and they got back to us fairly quickly, and then we told pretty much everybody that we knew except for family, and then we told family on Christmas Eve that we were going to have a baby, and then we announced it to the world that we were going to have a baby on Christmas Day. And the rest was history, and I went through my whole pregnancy and had her, and now here we are. That's my rainbow baby. And I never thought that I would have that, but I'm so blessed and I'm so thankful that God let me carry a child and let me give birth to a beautiful, healthy baby girl. And I just never thought it would happen for me. I 1,000% believe that the semaglutide is what got me pregnant. And they are actually talking about incorporating weight loss injections like semaglutide into fertility treatment, which I think would be a complete game changer for some people. Because in reality, as pissed off as I was for the doctors that were like, well, just eat better and lose a little weight, had I just lost a little weight, if it would have been easy enough for me to just lose a little weight, I probably would have been pregnant a lot sooner than I was. And I just can't believe how easy it was. Because I literally lost all that weight and then was like, boom. Didn't get knocked up once, but twice. So I 1,000% attribute my pregnancy to those weight loss injections. And I'm not saying if you're trying to get pregnant, like, go get on them. Unless you just want to. That's on you. But they really genuinely helped me. And I'm just thankful that I found that and was able to afford it, to do it, and was able to get the results that I needed. And I honestly don't know what would have happened had I not done those. I could be still sitting here now in front of you with no child. So I'm thankful for that. And I really, I still struggle with it sometimes, like the way it made me feel and like the thoughts it made me have. Man, I'm telling you, there would be nights I would just cry. I would be driving and I'd just cry and just beg God to give me a baby and ask him, like, why? Why me? Like, what did I do to deserve this? Like, there are girls out here one night standing and getting knocked up and turning around and getting an abortion 7 times, and you got me who genuinely wants a family and wants to be able to give my husband a baby, and I can't. And that shit used to fuck me up. And actually, the day before I found out I was pregnant, I had a mental breakdown about the fact that I miscarried this baby. It was like literally like 3 months later. And I did a whole YouTube video on it. It's still on my YouTube. You can go watch it. I think it's called like Venting Session Miscarriage or something like that. And it's literally just me talking about how like it wasn't my fault, but like I felt like it was my fault. And if there was something I could have done differently, I don't know what I would have done. I mean, like, just stuff like that. And it was just kind of weird the way the world works, because I literally was like bawling my eyes out talking about how I felt like I'd never be able to have a baby, and then the next day I positive on a pregnancy test. And yeah. And all my friends were really supportive. All my family was really supportive during that time. And I have a few friends who have had or are having similar struggles in the infertility department. And, we all just try to stick together. And, I feel like I'm kind of living proof that, like, it can happen. And sometimes it's just a timing thing. And I used to fucking hate when people would say that to me. It's not the right time. It's just not your time. And I'm like, well, bitch, when is my time? Because I want my time to be now. And, yeah, I was so fucking tired of people telling me that. Like, it'll happen when it's supposed to. Okay, well, I want it to supposed to be now, So when I have my friends that have that issue, I try not to be that person that's like, oh, well, it'll happen when it's your time. Like, although that is true, that's not what you want to hear. Especially when you want a baby, like, right this moment. Like, don't fucking tell me that. Don't tell me I have to wait, So, I just want to say to anybody that's listening or watching, if you are currently going through infertility issues or fertility issues, period, or, depression from that, or you feel like you will never get to be a mother or get to carry a baby, I just want you to know that having faith in the universe and the man upstairs will help tremendously. And this is not me like pushing religion or anything, because I'm religious to an extent, but I'm really like not like full-blown religious. However, I truly believe it's in his timing as far as when you are supposed to have a baby. We could have had a baby in our last home. Our last home was a little smaller than this one. And, we had plenty of bedrooms. We had space, but, me and Billy were in a tight space with work, and, we've changed a lot since we got married, and, maybe that's what it was. Maybe we had to, like, learn how to be husband and wife first before we could be mom and dad. And I don't know. I don't want you to feel like your fertility defines your worth, because it doesn't. You're just as amazing without a child as if you had a child. You know what I'm saying? And I send all the baby dust and all the well wishes and all the love and support to anybody that is tuning in that is having these issues. And just know that I've been there and I know what you're going through. I know it's hard and I know it sucks, but just know that it will get better and your time is coming. And when it does, you're going to be an amazing mother. You're going to rock pregnancy. You are going to have a very smooth pregnancy. You're not going to have any complications. And you're going to deliver a healthy, happy baby. It's going to happen. I know it is. And I know the ones that are close to me that are struggling with this, they're going to be amazing parents. And I can't wait to see the day when they have their own little ones running around. And like I said, I know it's hard. I know it sucks. But it's going to be okay in the long run. And, I firsthand understand how hard it can be. Like I said, I ended up on medication, I truly believe, from all the struggles of fertility and all the depression that I went through and panic attacks and, so many different things. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that situation. I just know that is a really vulnerable subject for me. And I can talk about it now that I have a child. Lucy, stop shaking, bro. I can talk about it now that I have a child because it's a little easier, obviously, because I finally got my rainbow baby. But I know it's not that easy for everybody else and the struggles that they went through. And yeah, so I just wanted to get that off my chest. If you have any questions, if I left anything out that you would want to know about or you're curious about, just let me know. And we can always do a part 2 or like a continuance of this episode and talk a little bit more about it. Maybe we can even do like a questionnaire of people asking me about infertility and babies and stuff, and we can get into that. Because I know there's quite a few of my friends that have gone through it. I know a few offhand that are going through it right now. And I know quite a few that have gone through it in the past and were successful, or gone through it in the past and still are not successful. And we're all in this together. So anything I can do to help ease your mind or to maybe help, you not think the worst, I will gladly do so. Well, that is all I have. Thank you for listening to the Messy But Caffeinated podcast. Remember, if I said something this episode that pissed you off, take that up with your barista, not me. Talk to you later. Okay, bye.